Yes, people, what's going on? Marcus Rashford has done an exclusive interview with Henry Winter amidst loads of debate about whether he'd be staying or leaving Manchester United after being dropped out of the squad for the Manchester derby. My overwhelming feeling was Marcus Rashford needs to fight for his spot in the team, get back to scoring ways, get back to his best, get back to playing with a smile on his face. But in this interview with Henry Winter, Marcus Rashford has admitted he is ready for a new challenge, and that challenge most likely lies away from Old Trafford. Now, this is a player I never thought we'd see play in a shirt for any other club. I never thought I'd see the day. And I've just been sitting there thinking and hoping. We did the overlap today. I've been on Stretford Paddock today. And we've been talking about how it's so important that he just gets back to his best. Fight for his spot at Manchester United. He's someone that clearly loves the club. We saw those tears at the end of the FA Cup final. A game that Manchester United actually won. And maybe that kind of explains a lot. When you look at it in hindsight, he's probably been feeling overwhelming pressure. We win that cup final. It was probably a release of loads of emotion. Now, Marcus Rashford, look, he's made his mistakes, and I think he can look at himself and, probably some of the blame lies there. He's not been in his best form for the last 12 to 18 months. He's had a few issues off the pitch, like that night out in Dublin. I mean, we've stuck by players who have done a lot worse in the past. And it looks like maybe the pressure, the scrutiny, everything combined has led to him getting to this position. We'll get into his words and we'll read some of the words from Henry Winter. The best place to go and see them all is, of course, with Henry Winter's Twitter page. But I can't lie. I'm so gutted. I don't think I've felt as gutted about a transfer since David Beckham. No lie. With Cristiano Ronaldo, you could kind of see it coming. There's obviously been players that have retired that you get gutted about and you feel really upset about. But Marcus Rashford is one of us, man. Marcus Rashford should be playing at Manchester United for his whole career. He shouldn't be leaving at the age of 27. These are his peak years coming up. He should not be leaving at this point. But it looks like it's going to end up that way. And it shouldn't be. This shouldn't be the way it should go. I'm so gutted. And I know people ridicule me for saying we should keep him when I did a video reacting to the rumours a week or so ago. And I find that whole thing just mental as well. That so many Manchester United fans seem to have their knives out for him. So many Manchester United fans seem to just dislike Marcus Rashford. I don't get it. Since he broke onto the scene, scoring those goals for Manchester United with an infectious smile on his face, he just looks so far from that player. And maybe a fresh start is needed for all. Maybe he needs a fresh start to kind of get away from the scrutiny, get away from the weight of the shirt and move on and get a new challenge and all those kind of things. But it shouldn't be this way, man. It shouldn't be this way. And yes, Marcus Rashford has himself to blame with some things. His form hasn't been good enough over the last 12 to 18 months. In that, by the way, he scored some big goals in some big games. A couple at the Emirates. Again, at the Etihad, he scored an absolutely fantastic goal. In that win over Liverpool in the Cup, he still managed to chip in with crucial goals. And you also look at some of the names we linked with to replace him. Guess what? Marcus Rashford has more goals and assists than them this season. And this is a bad season for him. Loads of people like to talk about how Marcus Rashford has got XYZ manager sacked. Nah, check the stats. Marcus Rashford usually has more goal contributions than anyone else for Manchester United. For each of those managers, even for Ruben Amorim, he scored a couple of goals in the short time that Amorim has been here. And we're going to get stuck into his words. And I can't lie, it just saddens me that it's come to this. It proper saddens me. And I think you can also blame the culture that's been at Manchester United over the years. A lot of people talk about Marcus Rashford and they go, he should be able to deal with the scrutiny and all those kind of things. Well, first of all, some of the extra shit that gets written about him, I think only comes along because he decided to take on the Tories and decided to campaign for free food for children that needed it and children that were hungry. I mean, if he's a villain for that, I'm a villain too. But at the same time, he's also made mistakes. But humans should be allowed to make mistakes. You know what I mean? And kind of learn from them and move on from them. And I'm just so gutted, man. It's gonna be difficult for me to put my words together and make them make sense here. Before today on the overlap, I prepared a bit that I was going to say about Marcus Rashford, and I never prepare for things, yeah. And then when it comes to saying it, I just had so much to say, I didn't really know what to say. It was mad. But we're going to have a look at some of these quotes from Marcus Rashford, and I'm going to react to them as well as I can. Marcus Rashford talking about being dropped and left out of the derby. He said, it's disheartening, but it's happened. We won the game, so let's move on. It's disappointing, but I'm also someone, as I've got older, I can deal with setbacks. What am I going to do? Sit there and cry about it, or do my best the next time I'm available? And then he was asked by Henry whether he's staying or going. And he said, for me personally, I think I'm ready for a new challenge and the next steps. All of his words, Henry adds, were prefaced with respect for the club, which has been his home for almost 20 years. He said, when I leave, it's going to be no hard feelings. You're not going to have any negative comments from me about Manchester United. That's me as a person. If I know that a situation is already bad, I'm not going to make it worse. I've seen how other players have left in the past, and I don't want to be that person. When I leave, I'll make a statement, and it will be from me. From the heart, asked, will he always be a Red? He said, yes, 100%, 100%. And as I said, we saw those tears after the game against Manchester City where we won the FA Cup. A big release of emotion for Marcus Rashford. And maybe the emotions, the strain, the constant headlines, I think some of the fans not loving him. And I know people will say, oh, you should deal with that scrutiny. You should deal with that pressure. But it is difficult when your own fan base, some of them, are just never going to like you and never going to be happy for you no matter what happens. I find it bizarre, but it happens. And speaking to Scholesy earlier, he actually agreed with me when I said this as well. It'll be on the overlap. Like, one of the things that them players in the past had, and look, Scholes, Ryan Giggs, some of the greatest players ever, you know, to play for Manchester United. And Marcus Rashford, if he was to say, would have a long way to go to match what they have done and achieved at Manchester United. So I'm not comparing them as players. But what I was saying at that point was, when those players were at Manchester United, if they slipped off a little bit, if they had a bad period of time or whatever, Manchester United had Sir Alex Ferguson at the helm, who was controlling everything, protecting his players. In the last 10 years, we've been chopping and changing managers left, right and centre. We've had no real culture at the club. We've had no real sense of stability at the club. And it's been easy for players to lose their way. He's also a player that, as I've said, contributed massively for all of the managers, whether they were sacked or not. And he's also a player that, you look at his goals for the club, Premier League goals, I think only 6 or 7 players have more than him. And they're all certified legends, like Wayne Rooney, Andy Cole, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes. Certified legends. What he's already achieved for the club is massive. Now, obviously, it's without the Premier League trophy or the Champions League trophy, which, when you're at Manchester United, you are measured by. You know, when you're at the club, you are measured by. But how it's come to this, I'm just so gutted. Part of me wants to have a word with him and say, bruv, just fight for your spot. Fight for it. Because you obviously love Manchester United. You love the club. You clearly, you know, want to be a legend here. So fight for it. But then part of me looks at him from the human side and he's probably just fed up of it all. You know, it's easy to end up in that way. Everything seems to get pointed. The fingers seem to get pointed at you all the time. And again, I kind of say he's had issues of his own. You know, that night out in Dublin, you know, nobody wants to see that when we're preparing for a game. You don't want to see that. But he still came back and performed after that. For Eric Ten Hag, he had one of his best seasons ever. Scoring 30 goals for the club. You know, he's a player that can do it. And I feel like Manchester United, with Marcus Rashford, playing with a smile on his face, scoring goals, are much better off than just letting him go. Just letting him go. Like, what, you're going to get 40, 50 million for him? So what? Who are you going to replace him with? 80 million gets you Anthony. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just find this, the fact that we've allowed it to get to this, just so baffling. So baffling. And again, it's a mixture of things. I'm not just saying Rashford isn't, you know, partly to blame for this. But at the same time, the club have got to do a lot better, man. And I'll be so gutted the day he leaves. And it's going to be soon, isn't it? By the way he's talking, it could be January. Could be the summer. Now, if it is the summer, I hope he goes out with a bang, gets his head down, works hard, grafts it, scores some goals, goes out with a bang. But it's not supposed to be like this. It's not supposed to be like this. And people like to say, oh, PR this, PR that, all this, that. Marcus Rashford's a fantastic player. A fantastic player. And I'm sure he'll go on to prove that if he leaves Manchester United. I just wish, I just hope he could turn things around here. And I know maybe this was expected. Maybe it was always coming. But I didn't think we'd ever see Marcus Rashford leave the club. Not yet, anyway. Not yet. Martial and Rashford in a year. What am I going to do? And if Marcus Rashford signs for another Premier League club, oh my God, I'm finished. I'm finished. I'm going head first into the nearest canal, as Webby would say. As you can see, I'm a bit shocked. I don't like this news at all. I do not like it. Now, one thing I hope, if he just does feel done with everything and he needs a fresh start, I hope he goes on, starts to find that smile again that was so infectious, starts to score goals and be his usual self. Get your head down and be a success, because I'd love nothing more for him to go on and be a success. Just not in the Premier League. Don't do that to us, Marcus. Don't do that to us. Just wish I could chat. Just come on, Marcus. Buckle up your ideas. Get your head down. Graft it. Get your place back in this team, because you're fucking good enough. Maybe we've gone too far though. I don't know. I know I'm going to get blasted for this in the comments, because most of the people that watch some of these videos just ain't got time for him, but I got a lot of time for Marcus Rashford as a footballer, as a person. I think he's done incredible things off the pitch, and with that comes added scrutiny from the right-wing press. They don't like to see someone challenging the norm and fighting for working class people or people that are less off and need it. But so gutted, man. Anyway, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm sure you will, and you're sure you'll call me an idiot. But I love Marcus Rashford, and this is a sad one. Anyway, I'm AdamMcKola. I'm out of here.